As a lot of you may know, Wednesday it was announced that the LA Chargers and Michigan head coach Jim Harbaugh finalized a deal for Jim Harbaugh to become the new head coach for the LA Chargers. This is pretty big news for college football because now that Harbaugh is gone and going to the NFL, that means only one head coach that made the college football playoffs will still be coaching that same team, and that coach is Steve Sarkisian for the Texas Longhorns. We saw Nick Saban retire from Alabama. We also saw Kalen DeBoer move on from Washington, and then Jim Harbaugh decides to move on from Michigan. And the landscape of college football is really changing now. But today I wanted to talk about this Michigan team and how Jim Harbaugh leaving really impacts this team and college football as a whole. But before I do get into this video, let me remind you guys to like the video, but also subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you never miss an upload. And if you guys love college football, then you will love this channel because we upload daily college football content and we basically cover everything on this channel. So definitely consider subscribing. But anyways, without further ado, let's get into the video. So now that Harbaugh is gone, people may be asking what's next for this Michigan program. Are they really going to start going downhill from here on out? Or can Michigan stay near the top? They have all the cheating allegations to deal with, and that's probably part of the reason Harbaugh left. He did everything he needed to do at Michigan, and he led them to their first national championship since the 1990s, and he also beat Ohio State 3 times in a row. But I think he knew his story was finished after he won the national championship against Washington, and there was really no big reason for him to stay. And his brother John Harbaugh is also in the NFL coaching for the Baltimore Ravens, and it wouldn't make much sense for him to stay at Michigan because if he was to return to Michigan, then he'd probably have to deal with even more suspensions, and Michigan's future is kind of questionable. So it definitely makes sense for him to take himself to the NFL. But Jim Harbaugh is in the past, and I wish the best of luck for Jim Harbaugh in his future coaching in the NFL. And I'm not going to really cover that topic much because we are a college football channel and I'm not really a huge NFL fan. And I wanted to talk about what's next for Michigan football. So let's move on from Jim Harbaugh and let's look at who could be Michigan's football next coach. And the obvious option would be offensive coordinator Sherrone Moore. And he could step up to replace Harbaugh as head coach, just like he did for part of the last season. Sherrone Moore helped lead Michigan to a 4-0 record as a head coach this past season, including a big win against Ohio State. And according to sources, Sherrone Moore is very likely to take over the spot, and it would probably take a few days or even up to another week. But I can say I'm 99.9% sure Michigan's next head coach will be Sherrone Moore, unless something crazy happens. But let's say Sherrone Moore does take the spot, and after he's the official head coach of the team, we have to look at what's next for this team. You know, I see a lot of people talking about everything Michigan is losing, and there's a very logical reason people are bringing it up, because they are losing really solid NFL talent. They are losing J.J. McCarthy, Blake Corum, and Roman Wilson, and a bunch of other offensive production. But they also have now just lost their head coach. But I also think it's very interesting that they are still returning a bunch of players on defense. But they will also be fine at running back with Donovan Edwards replacing Blake Corum and being that new replacement. And they have an NFL talent tight end returning in Colston Loveland. And there's still a bunch of talent on this team. And at quarterback, they have a guy that could really step up and become the leader of this team. And I am assuming he will start next year, and I'm talking about Alex Orji. Alex Orji is the guy that has a pretty good arm, and he could throw the ball deep. But he's also very dangerous with his legs. And he got a little bit of experience playing backup behind J.J. McCarthy this past season, and he showed up in the big games. So yes, this Michigan team is losing a lot on offense. They're having to replace basically their whole offensive line, and they're losing NFL talent players. But they have a bunch of other talent that could really step up, and the defense should be pretty dominant again. And they brought back a bunch of talent, including cornerback Will Johnson, who will be one of the best defensive backs in the whole country. They managed to bring back some guys on defense who were eligible for the NFL draft, so that makes it very interesting. And people may be looking ahead thinking that Michigan will completely fall off because of the talent they lost on offense and the fact that they lost their head coach. But Sherrone Moore could be a decent replacement at head coach. And this is a team that is coming off a national championship win, and this team still has a bunch of talent, and I can still see them compete for a Big Ten championship, and I definitely wouldn't be surprised to see them in the playoffs. I still think we are going to see the same physical ground and pound team on offense and defense that can really compete with anybody, and I still see a 10-2 record or better. There were levels above other teams in the Big Ten this past season, and I don't expect to see a huge downfall from this team. Sherrone Moore did a decent job when he was head coaching this season, and this Michigan team fought through all the adversity to win the national championship. And this is going to be a very interesting team, and they will still be a top contender in my eyes. Maybe they don't win the Big Ten, but we see teams lose talent all the time. But it's going to come down to how they replace those players, and which players will step up, and which players will help keep this team at the top. I don't see Michigan being a team that has a TCU type of situation. This team will still have a bunch of talent returning, and they will still have a bunch of All-Americans on defense. The team that I could really see go downhill is Washington, because they truly lost a lot, and don't really have a bunch of guys who can step up. And they return hardly anybody on that team. But there's a difference between teams like Michigan and teams like Washington and TCU. Washington and TCU kind of just had breakout years. And I'm definitely not going to say they got lucky, but a team like Michigan made the playoffs 3 seasons in a row, and they have kind of figured out what it takes to stay at the top. And they've been really good for a few years now, and they play elite defense, and it wasn't a one-and-done type of situation. And despite the heartbreaking playoff losses, they still picked themselves up and made it back to the playoffs the next year, and it ultimately led to a national championship in 2024. But maybe Michigan does take a step down. But I can guarantee this is not a TCU type of situation, and there's still so much talent on this team. And Michigan might still be one of those top programs heading forward the next couple years. It's going to be very interesting to see what this new look team can do. Seeing Alex Orji and Donovan Edwards taking over the starting roles will be very interesting to see, because they are both very talented players, and they might get overlooked, and they can really help that offense be efficient next season. The offensive line may be an issue, but Michigan has been a very tough line of scrimmage team, and I expect them to figure things out on the offensive line, and we'll see how Michigan handles that. But like I said, I still expect the same physical team that they have been the last couple years. But some of us may be wondering if this past season will even count because of all the cheating scandals. Will the NCAA vacate Michigan's wins? It would be kind of dumb to let the kids play for all this time, and then they end up making the national championship and win the national championship just to have the wins vacated by the NCAA. Wouldn't that be a story? And maybe if the NCAA vacates the national title win, that's when we truly see the downfall of Michigan. But it's still a what-if situation. We don't truly know if the wins will be deleted from the record books. But as of now, Michigan are your 2024 national champions. And no matter how hard you try, you can't really erase that from history. Because everybody will remember this Michigan defense. And it was one of the most dominant defenses over the last decade. Some people may consider it one of the most dominant defenses of all time. And at the end of the day, everybody can make up excuses about the whole cheating situation. But those kids were just playing with their hearts every day on the field, and they were playing football. They weren't doing the investigating. And taking away this national championship would kind of be a slap in the face to the players. But I can't tell you what's right and what's not. But what I can tell you is that college football is still the best sport in the world. And this past season was really the first season I became a true college football fan. And that's why I'm now making videos for you guys. And I can't wait for next season to watch these teams play. And Michigan could honestly be a very underrated team to watch out for. And I can't wait to see what Michigan can do, because they're definitely an intriguing team to watch out for. But the landscape of college football is truly changing, and we're going to be seeing big-time games next season. Michigan will have to play Oregon and Ohio State, but they also have that national championship rematch with Washington. And there's just so many interesting matchups we wouldn't usually see, but we're going to get to see them. And West Coast to East Coast travel is going to be insane. But you guys let me know how you think Michigan will do next season down in the comments below. But anyways, that's going to do it for the video. Be sure to like the video, but also subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you never miss an upload. And if you guys love college football, then you will love this channel, because we upload daily college football content, and we basically cover everything on this channel. So definitely consider subscribing. But that's going to do it, guys, and peace out.